Let's go back to January 2006 in Orlando, Florida. You have this young woman, just 24 years old, who is absolutely crushing it. She's got a fantastic job, her own brand new condo, a great boyfriend. Life is good. But then, on what should have been just another Tuesday morning, she locks her front door to head to work and is never, ever seen again. Okay, so this case is a real puzzle, It's got so many different layers. To really get our heads around it, we're going to start with who Jennifer was as a person. Then we'll walk through the exact timeline of her disappearance, look at the incredibly bizarre clues that were left behind, and unpack all the main theories. And we'll also cover her family's amazing fight for the truth, and finally get into the new developments that might, just might, bring some answers. To really feel the shock of what happened, we have to understand the person at the very center of this thing. Jennifer Kesse wasn't just a name on a missing person flyer. She was this vibrant, happy young woman who was really at the top of her game. This quote from her mom, Joyce, just says it all. In the days before she vanished, she was on a cloud. She had literally just gotten back from this amazing, romantic vacation in St. Croix with her boyfriend. She was on top of the world. Think about it. At only 24, she had so much figured out. She was a finance manager. And get this, she'd been promoted twice in a single year. She was so proud to have bought her own condo in a gated community, and she picked that place specifically because she was so careful, so safety conscious. Everything was just clicking into place for her, which makes what happened next so baffling. So let's go to that morning, Tuesday, January 24th, 2006. This is the moment where a life full of promise and routine just goes silent, and a normal day completely spirals into a desperate, frantic search. At first, the alarm bells were kind of quiet. She missed her daily morning call to her boyfriend, which was weird, but not a total panic. But then, a few hours later, her job called her parents. Jennifer had missed a huge meeting. That's when the quiet alarm became a blaring siren. Her family knew right then and there that something was terribly, terribly wrong. Her dad, Drew, even said in that second, "I knew." So when her family finally got into her condo, this is the scene they found. And it's just so confusing. On one hand, everything looked totally normal, like she had just stepped out for work. The shower was still damp, makeup was out on the counter, she had clothes laid out on her bed. But then, all the things she would never leave without, her purse, her phone, her keys, they were gone. And so was her car. She had locked her front door behind her and just vanished. For 2 agonizing days, there was just nothing. No calls, no sightings, absolutely no leads. And then, a discovery gives investigators their first real piece of evidence. But honestly, it just created an even more haunting puzzle. Her Chevy Malibu turns up, parked at another condo complex just over a mile from her own place. But again, the scene just makes no sense at all. There were 0 signs of a struggle. Valuables, like a DVD player, were still sitting inside the car. So robbery was clearly not the motive here. But finding the car wasn't the only thing. Surveillance cameras at that complex captured what is, to this day, the single most important and most frustrating clue in this entire case. It's a figure that has haunted this investigation for nearly 2 decades. So this surveillance footage shows this person parking Jennifer's car around noon on the day she disappeared. They just sit there for 32 seconds. Then they get out and just casually walk away. No rush, no looking back. But here's the unbelievable part, the 1 in a million stroke of bad luck. A fence post on the security gate perfectly, and I mean perfectly, blocks the person's face in every single frame. The FBI tried to estimate their height, saying somewhere between 5'3" and 5'5", but even that's been argued about over the years. So with no clear suspect, no obvious motive, the investigation just had to branch out. They started exploring several really disturbing theories about who could have done this. The first major theory centered on Jennifer's own condo complex. It was being renovated, and a lot of the workers, many of them transient, were living in empty units right there on the property. Jennifer had actually told her family that some of them made her really uncomfortable, that they were always staring. The tragic part is, by the time the police really started looking into this angle, a lot of those workers had already packed up and moved on. It was almost impossible to track them all down. Then there was another angle, a coworker who had reportedly been hitting on Jennifer, and she wasn't interested. He was late to work that morning and, according to another employee,
he made this chillingly casual remark that she was probably eaten up by alligators already. Police definitely looked at him, but in the end, they just couldn't find enough evidence to officially name him as a suspect.
And of course, investigators had to look at her ex-boyfriend. He was having a tough time with their breakup, and in a really weird coincidence, he was seen drinking at a bar super close to her condo the night before she went missing. He also apparently didn't go to work the next day. But just like the coworker, he had an alibi, and the police were never able to connect him directly to her disappearance. So as the years just dragged on, and the official investigation went completely cold, the Kesse family started a new and really unprecedented fight. It wasn't just a fight for answers, but for the right to find those answers themselves. This was a huge deal. I mean, you just don't hear about this happening. Convinced that the police had hit a dead end, the Kesses did something extraordinary. They sued the Orlando Police Department to get their hands on the entire case file. It was an act of total desperation, but also just incredible determination. And you know what? They won. In 2019, the police department settled, and they handed over more than 16,000 pages of documents, photos, everything. For the first time, the family and their private investigator could see every single tip, every interview, every piece of evidence collected since day one. This quote from Jennifer's dad, Drew, it just says it all, doesn't it? The only people that are truly investigating what happened to Jennifer is us and our team. The family had to take on this massive, heartbreaking burden of basically becoming the lead investigators in their own daughter's disappearance. It's something no family should ever have to do. So that brings us to today. After almost 2 decades of nothing but heartbreak and frustration, the family's relentless fight has actually sparked a series of incredible new developments, and it's offering the first real tangible hope in years. This right here is huge. In November 2022, the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, the FDLE, officially took over the investigation from the family. And the crucial part is, they have declared that this case is active. It is no longer considered cold. That's a game changer. And this isn't just some administrative change. The FDLE has already conducted over 50 new interviews. And most importantly, they found DNA in evidence that had never been tested before. They've also announced that their list of persons of interest has been greatly reduced and that they're now focusing heavily on just a few key individuals. You know, Jennifer Kesse did everything right. She was aware, she was careful, she even chose to live in a gated community because she valued her safety. And yet, somewhere in that short walk between her locked front door and her car, her entire life was erased. Her case is just this terrifying reminder that safety can be an illusion, and it really forces you to ask, how well do we truly know the spaces we live in and the people who pass through them every single day?